Shabbat Shalom. Well, we are starting the second to the last book of the Torah. We are making our way through our journey of the 5 books of Moses. Our Torah portion this Shabbat is Bamidbar, and in English it is the book of Numbers. So, it actually begins with a census. It is a very detailed accounting. They count, just like, do we have censuses ourselves? A very detailed counting. So, we're pretty deep into our journey, deep into the learning of what we actually maybe kind of took on, what it may actually mean, and what is possibly expected of us. We find that numbers matter. We find that roles, tribes matter. We find that as we go forth in our journey, order, a system, following leaders matters. Working together synergistically as one matters as well. Am Yisrael, one people, unified under God, the one and only God, in a world at a time that was filled with so many other idols, so many other gods. We find that our numbers matter and our focus and our behavior as well. If we are meant to be a light unto the nations and a representative of the one true God, well, we had better be a very good reflection of that God's divine attributes. This Shabbat, we get this census where the tribes are organized and every single one is counted. The males over a certain age, all the groupings of the families. Now, when we come together again on the third Shabbat, the first Friday, now we're going to do the third Friday, we're going to get the Parsha that deals with gossip and slander, when Moses begs for his sister Miriam to be healed. So there's 2 particular songs that relate to this. So Heather and the musicians have been dealing with this. I'm not going to be here on that Shabbat, and it's wonderful. Jeremy's going to be leading the sermon. Our sisterhood ladies and everybody, if you'd like to participate, are going to help lead the service. So in my sermon tonight, I'm going to sort of touch on a little bit of both, and then Jeremy will touch on it a little bit further. Bamidbar essentially deals with what happens inside and outside of the camp. So I'd like you to think about our current world, where so many are disenfranchised, and what do we have? Encampments, and we have dissension, and we have controversy, and we see that the human condition even today is still fraught with conflict and adversity. It's important to look back and to take stock and to understand the importance of organization, order, mindfulness, kindness, and the importance of healing. When we look, what we find is that we do actually, each and every single one of us, no matter what group we're in, matters. Each and every one of us counts. What we do matters. What we say matters. And that has an effect physically, psychically, spiritually. So tonight, as I said, I'll be addressing both. We can at times be a divided people. We were then and we are now. We can at times be our own worst enemies. We were then and we are now. There is strength in numbers, and yet we have always been a force to be reckoned with, even when we're outnumbered. It is sad that our many different denominations of Judaism are sometimes at odds with each other, when actually we should all be focused on banding together as one. Hasidism, Orthodox, Modern Orthodox, Conservative, Reform, Reconstructionist, Renewal, Humanistic, everything on and on and on. What matters is that we are Jewish. What matters is that we stay Jewish. What matters is that we count. The debate over interfaith marriages, this was ultimately why I became a rabbi. My father was Catholic. My mother was a Russian-Romanian Jew. I realized that my calling at a time when, even Reform rabbis were not able to do interfaith marriages. If somebody wants to have a rabbi, why are we going to turn them away? Why are we going to give them a bad taste about it? It's a lot more liberal now than it was then. But even now, they make a lot of people jump through hoops. Are you going to raise your children Judaically? Well, somebody can say anything they want at the time. What's important is to create a seed that you can nurture and water and help grow and give people a feeling of, yes, I understand. I want to be a part of this family. I want to be a part of this people. I am essentially a part of this people. This is why I'm choosing to marry into this people. So we count. And if someone wants to keep the faith alive in any way, I say let's do everything we can to support it. Rabbi Rick Jacobs of the Union of Reform Judaism is quoted as saying, regarding this parsha and the numbers and the counting, most of the demographic that is causing a lot of thought around this at this time, and maybe even a reimagination, is this question, and this is interesting, I actually had not even thought about this myself. How many Jews of color are there in the Jewish people? The studies tell us there are between 10 and 20%. That is a lot of Jews of color. Now, in too many of our communities, we look around, everyone looks around in the congregation and they say, you know what, that can't be right. There are not 10 to 20% of people in this room who are Jews of color. Think about in other congregations you may have been in. I was in Dallas, one person was a Jew of color in a 3,000 family congregation. I was in an Ulpan with one of the rabbis who was training, who was the chief rabbi, he was a next generation from Uganda. Okay, so if we were sitting in that congregation, it would be different. So if you look at it, that counting matters. So he goes on to say, of course, that may be true, but it may be actually that there are more people among our people who are actually not in our counting. We may actually be able to be a little more optimistic in our consciousness, in our community, in our core work, because we're not doing a good job getting our arms out wide. So let's think about all those different individuals who might actually be getting overlooked. So now I say let's fast forward to the two parshiot, the one that we're going to get to in two Shabbatot, when Miriam gets stricken with what is sometimes called leprosy. She speaks Lashon Hara, she speaks ill of her brother, and that is slander. And so she is then removed from the camp. Okay? So when people get this skin rash, sarad, they are removed from the camp until they are healed. Moses prays a very short but effective prayer. It's one line, very famous. Many times it's done instead of the Mishaberach, which is what we will do this evening, and Heather and our musicians will do it. El na refana la. Please, God, heal her. This prayer has 11 letters. 10 is the number for God. 1, echad, is the oneness of God. 10, 1, okay? 10, 1, you add them together is 2, okay? Partnership, okay? But this prayer has 11 letters. So what can we learn from this? It's taught, Talmudic rabbis say, the 11 letters correlate to the 11-letter name of God. Now, there are many different letters for God, but it is said that when Moses asks God, what shall I call you at the burning bush, God says, Ehyeh asher ehyeh, I will be who I will be. When you take it and you add it all up, when Moses said, El na refana la, Miriam is healed, and she's healed because each one of those letters correlates to the letters in God's name. 11 and 11. They match up. It is among the prayers that we do. There is so much in the Torah. There are so many layers that we have no idea. There's so much power in the words, in the numbers, things that we discuss in our sip and study class, things that we'll discuss in the fall monthly, we'll do lunch and learn. There's so many powerful things that we're not even aware of. But it's not an accident that the actual prayer links up to the letters implicit in God's name. Each Hebrew letter in the prayer is counted. Each letter in God's name is counted. Each is collectively counted and added up and then matched up. The power of prayer, the power of words, the power of everything that we are, everything that we say, everything that we do counts. Why? We are a reflection of God. We are B'Tselem Elohim. We are created in the image of God. God is within us. Even if people aren't sure they believe in God, God is inside of us. We are divine. Ultimately, we are God, and God is us. So everything that we say, everything that we do, how we treat one another matters. Within those tribes of ancient times, and within our denominations of Judaism today, within our personal lives and the impact that we have collectively on our world, each and every one of us counts. And so, we are counted. We are counted thousands of years ago, and even today, we are counted when a census is taken. Our vote even counts. So it is important to get out and vote. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you are on, get out and vote. It's probably more important this year than ever. Get out and vote. And we don't do politics up here. The Israelites wandered in a desert with hundreds. And yet at times, when we do the Shema, sometimes I ask you to connect to that quiet. At times, even amidst the hundreds, there must have been a certain stillness in the vast wilderness. So as we go through the wilderness of our lives, let us connect sometimes to the quiet, to the stillness. Let us look around and see, when do we actually count someone in? And when do we actually count them out? I'm taking a swim class, and I'm new in the class. And some of these women have been doing it for 20 or 30 years. And I was kind of shy to go in there. Thought they'd be kind of cliquey. And I was told, no, they will count you as one of them. And this morning I was talking to a woman and she said, I'm so glad you're here now because I'm not the new one. And she said, I've been coming for 3 years. And she said, but that one over there has been doing it for 30 years. And I said, this relates to the Torah portion and what I'm going to be talking about today. And I said, because, I was afraid they wouldn't count me as one of them. And they did. So think about when you put someone in a camp, separate them out, don't include them. And when you actually count someone in and you say, come join us, come be with us, come be one of us. So let us remember that we all matter. Let us think about, what tribe do we come from? And you know what? If we're Reformed and we're with someone who's Orthodox, like even in my own family, let us be open to all of the possibilities. And let us remember that the common denominator is that we are all Jewish. Let us remember that what we say and what we do creates a ripple that has an effect. And let us generate positivity and light and healing. And let us make our time here count. May it be God's will. Shabbat Shalom.